So another week gone, and we are back with another episode.
For shits and giggles, we should start doing this. It is about 7 p.m. Monday, July 20th, in the year of our Lord, 2020.
Are you sure it's the year of the Lord, not the year of Satan?
It is our Lord, but don't worry. I mean, at the end of the day, at the end of this fucking crazy time frame, good will prevail. It always has. It always does, you know.
Our co-host Socks just jumped up on the couch.
He got me. He's on my lap. We almost lost him. He had real high glucose levels. So after $400 and all that crap, they started talking about how much more it's going to cost. And by the time they were done with everything, after doing my homework, I discovered that at the end of the day, they're going to charge us just over $2,000, playing upon our guilt of losing the cat, to see that they're going to just basically make us change his diet. So Socks is on, actually today marks week number 2, carbless, and he's doing great.
So let that be a lesson. I don't care if it's a people doctor, I don't care if it's a vet. If the doctor tells you to do one thing, ask them why. I think people give doctors way too much benefit of the doubt just because they got their degrees and all that stuff. But you know, if your doctor tells you to do something for yourself or for your pet and you're not quite sure about it, ask them why. And if they can't give you a straightforward answer, get a second opinion.
And do some of your own research. Sadly, you're not old enough to remember this, but there was a time where, yes, they've got to make money, but it wasn't such an industry like it is today, you know. Buster, you never met him, but you heard me talk about my beautiful boy, Buster. He was a 140-pound German Shepherd Rottweiler mix who was such a great... He's the best home security system you could ever have. The problem with a dog that big is he's going to have hip problems at some point. And his life expectancy is usually 10 to 12 years because of the size. So, Socks' hip blew out. And I took him to put him to sleep, just, coming to terms with the fact that his life is done. He was a family member, you know.
Wait, Socks or Buster?
Buster, did I say Socks?
Yeah, you said Socks.
Oh my God, I'm looking at Socks. I hope I didn't jinx him. Buster. So anyway, he says, well, we could try this surgery. There's no guarantees, but it's worth a try. Like, how much is that? $3,000. How fucking dare you? You know what I mean? How fucking dare you? You see where we're at. This dog is 10 years old. If we spend $3,000 on him, what if it doesn't work? No guarantees.
Yeah.
So playing upon our emotions to get us to open our wallet is just I can't think of a worse sin. But it's kind of that same way with the medical industry today too. I see this new thing and whatever. I'm gonna get a little political because that's who I am. I'm not condemning anybody. Yeah, I guess I am gonna condemn this idea though. I read today that they're going to start selling online these chemical abortion things for women. Did you read about that?
I didn't read anything about it.
Oh, soon you will. There are so many side effects, but it's like almost to the point where women will be able to order this stuff online and give themselves an abortion. And I believe it's pills at this point, but there's just so many side effects. You know what I mean? And I think to myself, and you guys are the same people that are bitching about this HCQ as a cure for, COVID. I just can't believe the times that we live in, the state of affairs in the country. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and what people will go through, all the side effects they'll put themselves through for something even minor. It's like, look at allergy medications. It's like, you got itchy, watery eyes, but you take this shit, and all of a sudden, you got liquid shit falling out your ass. You got 10 years taken off your life, low gas mileage, whatever.
Oh, it's amazing. No, I'm serious though. I mean, just some of the stuff is just, they talk about, HCQ, man, it could have potential this, potential that. Nothing compared to the do-it-yourself at-home abortion. You know what I mean? But whatever. So, let's speak on wrestling.
Yeah, and why don't we start with what went down this last Saturday at 304? It was
Go ahead.
304th studio taping. So we had one of our concept matches, a tag team single elimination tournament.
We introduced a new idea.
Yeah, actually,
implemented.
Yeah.
No, we dicked with it before, but I don't think we dicked with it to go into the Challenge Pro Cup.
Right. So what we did was, or rather what Rand did, I can't take credit for it, just speaking on behalf of the company, is it was random drawing, and numbers 1 and 2 teamed up against numbers 3 and 4 in the first round. Now, when one guy got eliminated, his partner had to stay in the match and compete in a handicap match against the other two. If he got eliminated, the other two would move on in the tournament, but if he somehow eliminated one of the members of the other team, he would team up with that guy's partner to form a new team, and they would move on in the tournament. And then we went until we just had 2 guys left, and they would end up going on to the main event to challenge Vine for the Challenge Pro Cup. And that ended up being Chase Gosling and DeMarcio.
What a cool fucking way to get into it that made total sense. I don't know how to explain it any simpler than you did, and I would probably explain it even worse than you did. I mean, not as clear as you. But it's not as complicated as it seems.
No.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. And it turned into a great main event, too. You had Matt Vine against Chase Gosling against DeMarcio. And those guys tore it up. And then Slick Willie got involved before the opening bell because Chase gave him a low blow during the tournament and eliminated him from contention. But Willie got his payback by jumping Chase from behind. Chase was out of the main event for a good 7-8 minutes before he finally recouped and was able to get back in. But by then the damage had been done, and all credit due to DeMarcio, but Vine walked out still the champ.
And a hell of a matchup.
Yeah. And then we had Tim Castle's first defense of the King of the Iron Man. He put that up against Inestra. That was a good match. Inestra was down he was up 3-0 on Castle for I think it was 20 minutes before Castle finally scored a fall.
I want to say, yeah.
And somehow Castle pulled it out of his ass and scored 4 falls and retained the crown.
Yeah, it was pretty damn exciting.
And that's going to be the one you guys can see later on this week on Patreon.
So I'm very interested to see this Saturday night Willie versus Chase, especially since Willie's kind of come back into his own after taking a hiatus. You know, he's really come around.
Yeah, so we got that. Those guys are going to settle up, and two of the biggest guys we have. And then we also have the Armageddon Gauntlet is coming back.
Yep.
I can't remember the last time we had that, but Jose Acosta is going to put the Armageddon Championship on the line while being world champion. The nice thing for him is he has the champion's advantage because as the champion, he gets to wait until the last round. Everybody else is going to have to compete in that gauntlet, and the last guy to survive faces Jose for the title.
Which will be cool as all hell.
Yeah, and if you've never seen an Armageddon Gauntlet, it's a gauntlet-style match, but unlike all the guys sitting in back while 2 guys duke it out, everybody's at ringside, and it's a combination gauntlet lumberjack match. And even after a guy's eliminated, he has to stay at ringside and serve as a lumberjack. And if anybody tangles up on the outside, they're eliminated, and they can't move on, which makes things really interesting for the guys on the inside, because if somebody falls out in enemy territory, he can't rely on his buddies to come help him break it up.
If you're a smart guy, you just throw them out, let them beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, and we've seen that before,
yeah.
From both sides.
Yeah, well, like we said, if you're a smart person, So I've got on Soundless here, Stan the Man Hansen taking on Misawa. I'm going to take a look here and see right now. I think Misawa was Tiger Mask 2. Would you do that? Because you're better at that shit than I am. I think he was Tiger Mask 2 before he thickened up. No?
Tiger Mask 2. Just checking my phone here. Give us a second.
In my opinion, I really believe that Japanese wrestling has been lacking a believability factor of Stan Hansen, Terry Gordy, Dr. Death, and more. for the last decade at least. I think ever since Bison died, they used to have their order over there. It was All Japan and New Japan, usually duking it out for first and second. Of course, New Japan has been, I guess, on top for about the last 5 to 8 years. No, probably longer. But anyway, back in when Bison Smith was alive, Mark Bison Smith, Noah was actually starting to really draw like a son of a bitch, and largely due to the fact that Bison was probably really responsible for at least 1/3 of their success. Then, for the first time ever, was the second largest company in Japan, second most successful.
I've got it pulled up here. Misawa was Tiger Mask 2.
Okay, cool. Yeah, then
took it up in 1984.
Now, what's great about this is Tiger Mask 1, do yourselves a favor and look up the original Tiger Mask. It's very hard to tell on YouTube because they just put Tiger Mask, because whoever listed couldn't really tell the difference. But Tiger Mask 1 was small, but amazingly quick. The quickness and speed and agility of this guy was unbelievable, unsurpassed. Then they found somebody to be Tiger Mask 2, which was Misawa, when Misawa was a smaller guy. Now, what's amazing is you rarely see Misawa, when he was Misawa, using the Tiger Mask moves once he thickened up and, was able to get in there with Stan Hansen like I'm watching right now, versus working with Eddie or smaller guys or high flyers, But just amazing. It's amazing how over those guys were, so far beyond what we in the States even comprehend, Stan Hansen as well.
Yeah, and Stan Hansen, I think he was one of those guys who was bigger in Japan than he ever was in the States, and he was pretty big in the States.
Well, he was like Brody, Bruno Sammartino took a liking to him when he was over in Japan, when Stan was a younger guy. And, of course, the believability. Bruno was a tough guy in real life. Hansen was a tough guy in real life. And he sold Vince Sr. on taking a look at him because he thought he could work with Hansen for the WWF and, draw some really good money for a year, The problem was when he first brought him in, within the first handful of matches, Bruno ended up getting his neck broke.
Yikes.
Yeah. So then I think that put some sort of brand on Hansen, but Hansen, things changed. The promoters then were scummy, but Senior was not, and there was a handful of your bigger promoters that were not. But he never wanted to be, he was one of those guys like Brody that didn't want to be at the mercy of those guys, And I think they liked the way that the Japanese fan and the Japanese culture respected our industry.
Yeah. The Japanese have always been known to take their wrestling very, very seriously. It's almost sacred to them.
Well, I don't know if you can say that anymore, and the reason I say that is because of all the silly shit that has happened over there. Wrestling blow-up dolls and things like that. I can't even I won't even watch anything like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean? Yeah, I think Cornette had a right to be pissed off about that one.
He was pissed too?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because, that was one of the last places in the world. But, again, you can re-educate fans. It's just nobody takes the time to do so. And you also, to re-educate them, you got to have people that know how to do that shit, how to actually do the art form. But today it's so uncommon, and everybody thinks they know, in the wrestling end, thinks they know more than they know, and they actually believe they're veterans working once a month for 10 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't know shit. Once a month for 10 years. How many matches is that? A fucking 100. Okay, let's give you the benefit of the doubt. Twice a month for 10 years. 200. You don't know shit. Who did you work with? Who agented you? Such a common practice today, especially in Chicago, to watch these guys go out there and just do the same match every other time, and nothing is their own, Or you get these littler guys and call themselves lucha hybrids and shit. They're not doing anything new either. They're stealing shit and they're doing a half-ass or half-speed version of it. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I see anyway, you know? Some are opening up and starting to run again, but I just don't see it happening, you know? That's why they got to depend on friends, family, and students to sell tickets, you know?
Yeah, and that's, I don't know if the kids still say weak sauce, but I'm going to call it weak sauce.
It is. It's not. It's a version of wrestling, but it's not wrestling.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, how many times have we said it? There's pro wrestling, independent pro wrestling, and indie wrestling.
One of the things I saw, too, is they live and die by what is said about them on their own social media. Not other forms of social media, but their own, what do you call Facebook and what's the other one?
Facebook, Twitter.
Insta. Yeah, they live and die by that shit. So they post something and they kind of beg for that shit if you look at how they do it. You know what I mean? And what's funny to me is they're the marks today. The reason I think anybody connects them is, number one, they beg for it. Number two, I think they look at them as fellow or brethren fans that may be above them a little bit because they're fans that actually go in there and try to do it. You know?
Yeah.
Not that they can do it, not that they really do it. You know what I mean? It's just all false bullshit, and then they'll take that 40 comments or interactions with it and goes way the fuck to their head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the things I see just, it's just a cesspool, and it's just, the reason I'm so angry about it is it just makes it so much harder, you know. I use LinkedIn. I told you before, I've been on LinkedIn since 2006. Before anybody was, you know. Just because of an article I read in Business 2.0. So, I'll post on there, but I don't post everything on there. You know what I mean? But what I do is I posted like last week. We hit 40,000 subscribers.
Yes, and thank you guys for your part in that.
So who ends up liking that stuff when I post it on LinkedIn is not wrestling people, not wrestling fans, not independent idiots. Who ends up liking this stuff is businessmen, because I say, and believe me, it's quite the feat in such a saturated market. You know, and we are such a saturated market because everywhere you turn, you know, on YouTube is Backyard Billy versus Front Yard Johnny and shit like that. You know what I mean? It's really hard to get to where we're at on you know, YouTube. It would just come so much faster if these people either A, didn't do it at all, or B, let's figure out, come to our place and learn how to really do it and do the drills and see if you last. Mm-hmm. You know? Then you weed them out. You know, it used to be that way. People think, oh, it's because the states deregulated. The states didn't deregulate. Your state athletic commissions were a fucking sham. Well, the intentions were good at first. The reason there wasn't athletic commissions because of bogus boxing finishes. I think it was after World War II. You know, fights were rigged like a motherfucker. So you had an athletic commission to try to make sure that shit didn't happen, and then it just got blown up with abuse of power bullshit, and athletic commissions became dirty as fuck. You know, I've had, when I did do a couple of shows when our state was a regulated state, they used to say, this guy actually fucking said to me, I know my fee is $125 to the state, but how much are you going to give me on the side?
Huh.
You
oh,
know?
God. Another guy who watched too many mob movies.
No, it's just how it was. That's how it was. It was disgusting. You know? Now, here's a story I should tell. North American Wrestling Federation, and this actually helped me out in the long run. I ran a show at the Bueller YMCA in Palatine. Now, it's such a funny building to run. You know, that's where I worked out, Justin. I worked out there for at least a decade, you know. The one of the guys in charge, I forget what Dave's title is. But Dave asked us to come because he was a wrestling fan, and he liked me as a human being, you know? As I liked him. I follow him today, too. But anyway, you know, to run there, you needed to do the bullshit for the athletic commission, you know? And you needed a license. Well, I didn't have a license. But what I did do was rented Barry Fox and Mike Lima's license. Barry Fox and Mike Lima first promoted for Vince. Yeah, Junior. I don't think they ever promoted for Senior. I don't think so. It's possible. But they were just awesome promoters. They didn't just promote Illinois. They promoted all over the place. But anyway, they were my friends. I talked to Mike on a daily basis, you know, several times a day. Not just about wrestling stuff, but also just personal stuff. I like Mike Lima so much. Such a innovative guy when it came to promoting and ideas to promote and market this industry in particular, you know. So I borrowed their license to run Palatine, you know, which was cool. Their office was in Inverness, which is basically Palatine, you know. So somebody, I don't think it was a wrestling company, might have been a wrestling company, might have been MMA at the time or boxing, but I started to read up a little bit on the athletic commission for the state, you know, and I began to see how less and less important they were, Justin. In 97, 98, 96, 97, 98, I had big problems with the Attorney General in Illinois over telemarketing fundraising, you know. But I do what I do, and I beat them 6 times because I wouldn't take... They tried to get me to settle, and I wasn't going to settle because of the settlement. In court and in life, a settlement is nothing but an indirect admission of guilt, you know. The rest of my competition settled. I said, don't settle. Don't be pussies. We should band together because then we'll have more strength and power, you know. They didn't, you know. So I said, fuck, I'll separate myself. So I did, and I beat them 6 times. But in the process of doing that, all that stuff is located in the same building, okay? Your Attorney General, your Attorney General investigators, your Department of Professional Regulations, which is what they hid the Athletic Commission under back then, which is like nursing licenses, you know what I mean? Beauty licenses, whatever the fuck. I don't know, law license, whatever. There's a whole bunch of shit in that building. So, this one time, one of the investigators came out to serve me with like the 5th or 6th set of papers after I defeated him, you know? I didn't like it at all because they knew I had an attorney, and technically what they did was illegal. They're supposed to serve my fucking attorney, but this was just a mind fuck on me. The guy came into my building through the back door, okay? And the back door must have been part opened, so he jimmied it. He had to jimmy it because there's no handle out to get in from the outside, you know what I mean, if he didn't unlock it. And when he came in, I said, who the fuck are you and what the fuck are you doing there? I don't give a fuck who you are. And I was going to knock the shit out of him, you know, because I was so fed up, you know. And there was a guy there, John J. Flood. He was, you know, I rented space from him, so really he owned the building. His union, they used to be the Cook County Police Association, owned the building. And he calmed me down. He made me let go of the guy. You know what I mean? So anyway, what started off that way turned out to be really cool, and the guy was fucking great, Justin. He says, you think I like doing shit like this? Yeah, they're fucking sneaks. I used to be a deputy, John. I used to follow you, John, when you unionized us. You did great things for us. But then this happened, that happened, the other thing happened. They deemed me fucking unhealthy for this or that injury. So I got stuck in a shitty fucking job that I got to finish out to get my full pension. You know what I mean? So he just gave up all the stuff. He said, you know, the Charitable Trust Division, who was the one kept coming after me, said they were moved into this part of this old-ass part of the building, you know, where they had barely any lights or anything. Everybody else was revamped. Like, they remodeled everybody else's shit except for the Department of Regulations, so it shows you at the end of the day how really important this is. The Department, not the Department of Regulations then, the Charitable Trust Division was just everybody was trying to get the fuck out of there. And it was headed by a guy named Floyd Perkins, who, this was his last chance for romance, where if he could come after me, it was an easy battle and an easy way to get headlines. Floyd Perkins goes after telemarketing scam. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He didn't have to leave the office. Well, he was a dickhead who he started in the charitable trust division and he couldn't go out and make it in the private sector. So he was trying to get to be judge because he ended up back there. You know what I mean? I was like, fuck him, this shit in Illinois is more corrupt than I ever imagined. Well, of course, since he's there, I'm like, while we're at it, I'm trying to shift businesses, right? And add wrestling promoting to my, to my itinerary, to one of my revenue streams. I said, I want to know about this fucking athletic commission. He started laughing. He goes, you remember I told you how shitty the offices were and they're in the worst part of the building and nobody gives a fuck about them for the charitable trust division? Well, the athletic commission is even fucking worse. They're in the fucking basement. You know what I mean? And they had they combined all the jobs, these guys that used to all come out with their hand out, except for one guy, Joey Moriello. Not you, brother. He was a timekeeper for the state, and he was always a straight up guy because he was a sheriff as well. But anyway, they gave it to this fucking guy, Ron Pacillo, who is in charge of all the shit now, So he did everything. And he was everything. So what they tried, and I knew, I'm like, well, fuck this. There's nothing there anymore. So knowing what I know from playing butt games with the charitable trust division, I'm like, they're going to get rid of these motherfuckers. There's no juice. There's one guy now. You know what I mean? The scheduled night that I have, there's 2 or 3 things going on, at least 2. And I said to myself that day, if he shows up late, if he's not there at bell time or before bell time when all this shit's supposed to go on, you're supposed to pay a fucking paramedic or a doctor to be there. Well, they had the ones that they suggest. Well, I'm like, fuck you. I got a friend that just became a paramedic, and while he's jacked about, being a paramedic or being EMS, he qualifies, His sister's a fucking nurse, They're my friends. They were going to come anyway, Then they wanted something or other for running the event. I got to pay like another $250 for that. They wanted $200 for their nurse, $200 for their EMS, one or the other. Then they wanted $200 for some asshole to ring a bell. Then they wanted $200 for their referee. You know what I mean? So I said, fuck it. I told my friend, the paramedic, and his sister, go on out and enjoy the show. This motherfucker shows up at intermission with his fucking hand out. I lost my fucking shit. Get the fuck out of here. Get out of my fucking building. You're going to shut me down? You don't have the fucking juice to shut me down. Call the state police, Ron. Fucking shut me down. Get the fuck out. So hard. He came in hard ass, like you said, thinking he's like a fucking godfather or a mafia fucking captain. Capo regime. Like a hard ass, little fucking corrupt ass fat dago with a cheesy mustache. And I threw that motherfucker out of my building. Now, you gotta know, at this point, Vince, WCW, everybody was still fucking under the guise that they still had the juice that they had. So, I do my show, he gives me some indirect threats as he's backpedaling, because I think he was afraid to get a smack. You know what I mean? I wasn't that angry, but I was just sick and tired of the goddamn corruption in our state. And I'd pay $90,000 that year in legal defense. $90,000, Justin, in a year.
That's insane.
Yeah. So I had it. Did our show. It was a great show. Drew fucking well. You know what I mean? I think I had Steve Carino versus whoever the fuck on there when he was still ECW champ. So it did well. It meant something, Anyway, I'm thinking to myself, man, I forgot one thing. I'm talking all this bullshit. I hope I didn't jeopardize Michael and Barry's license, because it wasn't just Mike and Barry's license. WCW, who they promoted for, was using their license at the time too, So I'm like, well, fuck, if that's what happened, I'll have to fix it, I'm not going to apologize for the way I acted. Because I told Mike I'm not playing this hard-ass bullshit with Pacillo anymore. and the fucking corruption, Well, shit, man. That shit got back to everybody at WCW, fucking Lima and Fox, and even got back to Vince, and they all laughed their fucking asses off and were impressed with my fucking balls. And guess what happened? Within a few months, the fucking state was deregulated. And I forecasted that. I saw that coming. I looked at how much juice they actually had, and I compared it to what the fuck I was going through in the juice that the Charitable Trust Division had. You know what I mean? The bottom line is, the other thing I forgot to tell you, since World War fucking II, up till that point, they were getting 10% of the fucking gate.
Are you kidding me?
No, that's what pissed me off. You do the fucking math. You know how many tickets you got to sell? If you've rented a building and you got to pay, I think it was $1,250. And then you got to buy this fucking crazy whack insurance. Not just $1 million fucking liability policy. You got to buy all kind of shit, So you're spending $1,250 before you even rent your building in Illinois. And then on top of that, you got to get them 10% of your ticket sales, which I said, fuck that, fuck you, suck my dick. Never fucking got shook down for the 10% again, and the 10% is gone. Now, I'm not saying like I'm the fucking be-all, end-all bullshit, but I'll guarantee you, I know what I know from Barry Fox and Mike Lehman telling me when I said to them, are you fucking pissed? Did I fuck you guys up? They were laughing. What did you really say? We heard you said this to him. I go, well, how the fuck did you hear that? He goes, because Pacillo's calling all the other organizations telling him, can you believe this guy? Can you believe this guy? What do you know about this guy? You know what I mean? They're like, it's fucking awesome. He's selling his balls off for you. You ran him out of the building. I'm like, I ran him out of the fucking building. Yeah, I did. Gonna get 10% of my hard work? Guess what, man? I didn't make 10% off of that show. You know what I mean? By the time I pay for everything. So I'm going to do that? Fuck no. You can't regulate the little guy to the point where he can't fucking get started, Now, there's a thing today where, what I love to hear, Justin, is these fucking idiot organizations like CSW and POW, who really are seated on bullshit. They're not fucking wrestling companies or Adrenaline Pro. Suck my ass. They'll say things like, oh man, the problem is it needs to be regulated. That just shows you how fucking stupid you are. There's no regulation for if you're a real company or not. The regulation was all fucking bullshit politics and shakedown, you dumb fucks. So that proves right there they don't know shit about shit. Any reaction, asshole?
No, I'm just taking it all in. I mean,
Sox is taking a big pee. He's looking at me.
Yeah, I can hear it all the way over
here.
Dude,
he's got a good prostate.
As our co-host, he's giving his opinion on the state athletic
He's
commissions.
saying, piss on your old bald head, Ron fucking Pacillo. I don't give a fuck. If he's out there, whatever, and he wants to be a hard ass, fuck you. You know what I mean?
I know that, especially way back when, you had your athletic commissions, they would use their referees and everything, but
it's horrible.
I never knew that's how it operated.
Oh, it's horrible. And then on top of that, the earlier shows I ran, I want to say so this had to be 2000, early 2000s, right? The first show I ran was Hoffman Estates at Conan High School, and that's when I got my fucking education at a fucking shakedown. They had a timekeeper you got to, back then, man, 1998, you had to pay that motherfucker like $125 if he lives within this far. Bell ringer and timekeeper, that was separate, another $125. Their fucking referee, usually they wanted you to have $225 a fucking piece. Then the other guy to supervise them, which is $175, and that's a motherfucker that tried to shake me down for another $200, and then they wanted 10% of your gate.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, ridiculous, huh? But at the end of the day, I knew the state was going to say, fuck that, because they were spending more keeping these jagoffs in salaries or even part-time salaries than they were taking in at that 10%.
Yeah.
Now, Linda McMahon, she did a lot of harm to the business, but it would have come out anyway, where she did something in one of the East Coast states. I don't remember which one, but it was I don't remember. It's a state where they did great business, where they took like 15% of the fucking gate. You know, I think New York still takes 10, and they're corrupt as fuck. And the whole thing, the reason that, if you look at your histories of your athletic commissions, I don't know about Kentucky, who's a real fucking ball buster too. I do know that it had to do with, the only reason they were formed in the first place is because the boxing fights used to be a work and people were losing their ass with the phony fucking finishes. You know, and that's why they were involved. They weren't involved to do any fucking thing else. You know, anything else they do, telling you what you can and can't do on your shows, is just fucking bullshit corruption by fans who finally got some power. You know, fucked up, huh?
Yeah, that's the reason I'm taking these long pauses. I'm just trying to take all this shit in.
Yeah, you know, that's why when I started, I attacked the borders. You know, I did border towns, Whitewater, Wisconsin. Then I went into Kenosha, Wisconsin. Then I went into surrounding areas like Jefferson, Wisconsin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because of that bullshit. But, you know, you see what I'm saying at the end of the day? What a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, and it shouldn't... It pisses you off because it should not be like that.
No, it was for a long time, you know. It was for a long time. But there was so much scam bullshit, you know. The only thing I can think of is the curtain wasn't lifted yet, but when I broke in the business 30 whatever the fuck years ago, there were two people that ran the area. Stone, who basically ran Wisconsin, and Windy City, which ran Chicago area. But they only ran once a month if they were lucky. And that guy would beg, borrow, steal. And he was tied to that bullshit fucking athletic commission as well. You know what I mean? But they would, he would give them this extra money, but he would beg, borrow, steal it, or scam it from somebody else. You know?
Yeah.
Just dirtbag bullshit. So you got all these companies that basically spawned from him, or companies that... didn't have the balls to even make it working for Windy City at the time. And they don't even know their own fucking lineage or history, you know?
That's crazy. I mean, that's I can't even find the words for it.
Yeah, you gotta give me credit, though, for flipping shit, huh?
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you. I mean, like, I'm animated to begin with when my depression isn't hitting me that hard. You know what I mean? I'm expressive. I don't know if you've ever seen me worked up or angry. Have you ever?
Oh yeah.
You have? Like losing my shit?
I've known you for 7 years.
Yeah,
I've seen it 1 or 2 times.
Usually though, it's not. You know, overreaction is fucking wrong. I'm not going to justify it, but I don't usually flip shit unless it's like legit, and I've just had enough. Can't take it no more. You know. Well, that's what happened here, and I can become very intimidating when that happens, because I'm not there anymore. I haven't like fucking blacked out in a fit of rage in a long time. I haven't seen red in a fit of rage in a long time. But fuck you with that standing up bullshit. I will stand up. You know what I mean? I have stood up to amazing and surmountable fucking odds on the legal front. You know what I mean? And I just had it, you know. As far as I'm concerned, the whole fucking thing was all a scam. And again, I mean, check the fucking facts. How many years has Illinois, because of Chicago, been the most corrupt fucking state in the union, and nobody does anything about it?
Yeah.
You know?
Of course, did you hear now that there's some bullshit going down in Springfield with ComEd and
oh, man.
Madigan?
Yeah, you know what? But you just hit the nail on the head. It was big news last fucking Thursday. Where's the fucking deeds? Where's the details?
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen shit since. You know? I hear the bullshit about them marching into his office and taking fucking computers. I want to see the fucking footage, and I want to see the accountability, because he can probably buy his way out of that bullshit as well.
Yeah.
You know?
I read somewhere that this is the first time, I don't know in history, but it's the first time in a very, very long time that an active Speaker of the House and an active governor have been under federal investigation in Illinois at the same time.
Okay, cool. How much have you heard about it? How much have you heard? And who gives a fuck? I can't believe you people could block out how dirty the people that you vote for are, just because the reason you voted for them is because you hate the opposition so much. Okay? This guy, Trump, he ain't under investigation for any fucking thing. Not to the level of fucking Pritzker and that other asshole.
And you know what? What drives me crazy is that people keep making the same choices, and look at Congress. Congress has an approval rating that's like never above 30%. If it is, it's maybe a point or two, and yet these people keep getting elected. The reason our state, and our country for that matter, is so screwed up is because people out there have been voting for, quote unquote, the lesser of two evils for way too long.
Yeah, and it's never based on fact when you vote. It's based on how our media swerves you. We don't have one publication in Chicago or news channel that does not endorse the left. Not one.
I unfollowed every single newspaper, news outlet. I was, be it liberal, be it conservative. That's what drives me crazy is you don't know who to trust. And one of the biggest drawbacks to the internet is that we have such lightning fast access to information, but nobody bothers to check it.
See, in my lifetime, I used to get real frustrated, but I never got that into politics, okay? Until it fucking affected me. Until it took money and food out of my children's fucking mouths. Mm-hmm. You know, Justin, $90,000 in 1 year. $90,000 for a bullshit fucking charge. The only reason they camped me in the first place is to try to grab headlines to get Floyd Perkins elected as judge.
And for that, you were charged 3 times what a lot of people make.
Unbelievable, huh?
It's ridiculous.
That year I put $35,000 down on a fucking house too. You know, before I paid the fucking 90.
Yeah.
You know, and I worked my cock off. You know, so when it came to flipping, you know, I said then, from what I learned through people, I've said then through what I learned from people who are awesome negotiators, and John Flood might have been a lot of things at the end, but when John Flood was, you know, like I told you, he was a Cook County sergeant. He was the one, and he headed a team that went after fucking Betty, whatever the fuck, Maltese, his people in Cicero. They went in and they cleaned the mob out of Cicero. They put the final nails in the coffin, you know, back then, and primarily going after the fucking prostitution rings, which I'll respect that, you know.
Oh, hell yeah.
I don't care about numbers. I don't care about illegal cigarettes. I don't care about fucking illegal alcohol, because, you know, they wouldn't serve up poison. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I care about fucking prostitution and drugs. You know, that's what I give a fuck about.
Yeah.
You know, look at tobacco today. Oh, look at what the fuck Chicago, our state charges in tax. As long as they're getting a piece, it's legal. Same thing with alcohol. And the fucking numbers. Well, I'll tell you what. A couple years ago with the lottery, which is the numbers, that's running the numbers, which the goddamn mafia incepted and brought it here. The difference between that and the state of Illinois, the mob paid the winners. The state of Illinois, a couple years ago, I don't know if they're even caught up, could not pay the winners. They didn't have enough money. You know? But anyway, I just hate that shit, and I'd be goddamned if it's hard enough for me to overcome my bullshit and have confidence to do this shit. I'll be fucking goddamn if some corrupt motherfucker's going to be standing there in front of me trying to make it harder. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, so let that be a warning to everybody out there who wants to open a business in the state of Illinois. Good fucking luck.
Yeah, the regulations, you've seen me, I'm not going to go into detail on it because I don't want to piss anybody off locally, but you've seen me go up a few fucking things and a few fucking people with power who tried to fucking abuse it and say, really? You know? At the end of the day, if you're listening to this and you're one of those fucking assholes, you know, that's got your little boner for me, I will refer to this. Google Ricci, RICCI, versus the village of Arlington Heights. They arrested me for not having a business license, which is not an arrestable nor detainable fucking occurrence, okay? We went to the Supreme Court of the United States, okay, in Washington, D.C., 1997. We didn't win, we didn't lose. And it's because of Ruth Bader fucking Ginsburg that we did not win. was because Scalia and the boys were ready to fucking side with us right there and arrest us and arrest and arrest. She's like, well, he was only detained for 90 minutes, you know? What the fuck? You're going to rewrite what an arrest is? But anyway, they decided not to because Ginsburg's buddies and the people that endorsed her, Democrats, Democratic cities, it would have opened up a whole can of worms for everybody and anybody that's ever been fucking arrested for that shit. Or even cited for your hot dog street vendor that's out there without a license. That's why they didn't do it, because it would have turned the economy upside down and cost Ginsburg, who and the Democrats on that fucking, I'm gonna just say panel, a lot of money in civil suits. You know what I mean? But what's funny about it is it keeps coming up. The ACLU keeps bringing it up, and they don't even tell me. You know what I mean? Where they try to get it passed again. You know, I don't think it's ever going to happen, but I know it's been a tool used in law schools and different kind of colleges and shit. Our case. So I'm going to tell you right now, you little weasels from whatever political entity you come from, Google that shit. And at the end of the day, what I'm going to tell you is this: we didn't lose. But in 1997, it cost the village of Arlington Heights $750,000 fucking dollars to defend themselves. It's 2020. Come at me, bro, and see how much fucking money it's going to cost you today. Probably about $2 million. So if your little entity can afford a fight like that, you know, go ahead. I'm not a punk, and I'm not challenging you. What I'm saying is live and let live as far as I go, because I ain't going to ever go down easy. Especially when my conscience is clear and I've been living my life in a fucking way where I don't have to lie for a long, long time. There's no skeletons in this fucking closet.
So, now we need something for YouTube this week. We need a free clip for YouTube. And I was thinking, because you and I were talking about this yesterday, there's a guy who doesn't get a lot of credit in this day and age in wrestling for his contributions, but
Getting up right now. Yeah. Okay.
He's just getting off the couch, folks. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's not the big one. He's not going to Elizabeth.
Not yet.
But Mark Lowrance. You want to talk about Mark Lowrance for a little bit? Give people on YouTube a little something to hear. Maybe give the guy his a little bit more due than he's gotten.
You know, I do, but at the risk of casting my pearls before swine, meaning having like these absolute idiots drawing you a fucking roadmap. Fuck it. You couldn't anyway. You can't get off your own dick. That's what I call it, like when I'm lost or my depression's got me up fucked up, is I can't get off my own dick. What if I'm stepping my own dick? I can't move. You know what I mean? Yes. Mark Lowrance. So here's what happened, and here's what a lot of your guys ended up doing. And to me, some of the best, you know, for Vince, the best announcing team to me was fucking Gorilla and Bobby and anybody Jesse did shit with. But that was different. You know, that was different. Let's talk about World Class, one of the first syndicated fucking programs. I'm not sure who syndicated first, them, UWF, or Vince. I want to say UWF or World Class was even syndicated before Vince was. You know, UWF was Bill Watts. So in Dallas, Texas, they had a couple of guys when they started that were great. But Mark Lowrance was the staple, you know. He came in, and I was telling my youngest this yesterday. They used to have girls walk you to the ring or take your gear and walk you to the ring behind security. And they were gorgeous women, beautiful women. And they would take your gear and stuff, and they were dressed up in little cowboy hats and cowgirl outfits, you know, with fucking bedazzle and shit on them. We didn't really interact with them. It was just like an unwritten thing to kind of, you're not supposed to fuck with them or Fritz and Kevin will flip shit. You know what I mean? So I never did. I didn't see anybody do it when I was in Dallas World Class at the end. Mark Lowrance took over for, I forget the guy's name, Bill, I want to say something, but he was great too. They had one or two guys. What Fritz learned is he got a good relationship, and somehow he picked up Mark Lowrance. Everybody in Dallas watched that television. Even when the attendance was down, they watched that television on Channel 11 in Dallas, Texas. It would only behoove an aspiring newscaster, an aspiring sportscaster, an aspiring minister, and aspiring models and actresses to be on that television if they could. That's so much exposure, you know? They would recognize you all over the place because everybody was watching the goddamn regional television. And times have changed so much, huh?
Oh, definitely.
So, you're hitting me up about wanting to work for Vince, for WWE today. Because why? Fucking, in wrestling, it's the last place to make a living in the country, right or wrong.
Yep, right now at least.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Who does, do you even know who does announcing or commentary for AEW?
Well, commentary is Shivani and JR. I don't know who their announcer is.
I like Tony and I like JR, but...
Well, so do I.
But JR's best business years are behind him, just like me. I can't wrestle anymore. I could still do a few things and blow your fucking mind that an old prick could do that shit. But like I said, who the fuck wants to see it? And it's self-serving, you know? He lost his wife that he loved very much. He needs something to keep going, keep moving.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he doesn't have something, but he's half the guy he was just because of age. That's fact, you know? Mm-hmm. We're stripped of beauty and we're stripped of athleticism when you get old, you know? So, what does Taz do for them? Is he there?
Yeah, he's there. I don't know what his role is.
Okay. Here's what Fritz was what you have a Mark Lowrance. He aspired to do other things. Okay, use this as a launching pad. I will guarantee you, he made just enough to cover his fucking nut. Okay, you pay your dues in wrestling. In wrestling, any facet, you did not pay your dues just being a fan of the sport for however long you've been a fan of the sport. You and I both know a guy right now who works production for them, or some part of production for them for the network. Okay? This guy was a fan all his life, and he probably thought, well, that makes me qualified. It does not, you know. Product knowledge is something that they want for you to work for them in any facet of the company. They want you to have product knowledge, you know, but it doesn't qualify you. You know what I mean? So, dues will be paid around wrestling, in wrestling. The dues that we paid are nothing compared to what you assholes think you're doing today. Nothing compared. There just simply aren't enough opportunities for you to pay your dues like we did. What happens when you pay your dues properly in any union, in any industry, in any trade? Paying your dues, doing the stupid shit as a fireman or a policeman, okay, makes you better. It teaches you a level of respect that you didn't know you were fucking capable of your industry, you know, and it makes you about a valuable motherfucker, you know. People that you work with, people that you will work with until you retire or they retire, will love and respect you based upon the character that you show during this fucking dues paying process. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Check, fact check me. I kept my mouth shut unless I was spoken to for the first 5 years I was in my fucking industry. You know? And that's one of the things I have going for me today, and why I still have, you know, juice, and WWE knows who I am, is the way I was then, you know? Mark Lowrance took that job obviously wanting to go further, but he knew everybody was watching him. He started out, I believe, announcing. The other guy that was doing the commentary moved on, okay? Mark Lowrance, obviously a wrestling fan, he would have to be an enthusiast, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. That doesn't mean he had a command of what the fucking holds and the moves were even back then, you know? He found a way to discuss them and to sell them to you regardless. You know what I mean? Mark probably stepped up and said, "Hey, don't worry about hiring another commentator, another announcer or commentator. Let me try it. I'll do it." And he did it. So this motherfucker on TV, house shows, whatever the fuck, he'd announce, and then he'd get the fuck down there and start commentating within seconds, because you couldn't have dead air because people turned the motherfucking channel. You know what I mean? Seconds, Justin. Then, first he would do an intro to the show. He'd catch you up on where we are by himself, without having a great command of the goddamn terminologies, you know? Not like a wrestling person would. Then he'd go to commercial, he'd come back, and this motherfucker is in the ring announcing, then this motherfucker's down there doing the commentating, then he'd have to go from there to grab a word with the goddamn whoever was supposed to do the promo after the match. It was almost every television match, okay? Then there were other times where I showed you a tape, and I hope the fuck you were studying it like I asked you to, you son of a bitch. Studying Mark Lowrance, not the tape. There is a spot in there, and it's a fucking outstanding spot. I'm not going to fucking say anything about it, but it's involving Bill Dundee and John Tatum, something that people could never replicate. If Vince could replicate that today, my God, his segments would be great. You know what I mean? But anyway, so Bill Dundee is saying something, and he's got to take an action, and he looks at the referee, Tony Falk, take the mic so he can do what he's got to do, okay? Tony can't do that because it shows a bias, right? It would kill off what was going on in the ring and take the ref out in the middle saying he's doing a favor for Dundee. Well, shit, that shit's on the fly, okay? Within 15 seconds, Mark Lowrance goes from commentary, doesn't say I'm leaving, and shoots into the fucking ring to hold the microphone for Bill Dundee. You see that shit?
Yeah, I did.
He would close the show and saw you on what was coming up and where the fucking live events were to be. You know? Then that motherfucker would do production. He would produce the fucking television. He may get footage that was switched live from one camera, two camera. I don't think three. One camera or maybe two cameras. Okay? He would have to go fuck with that shit. Now, he just did the episode for Dallas TV. He had to do then a fucking episode or part of an episode and do a whole new intro of what was going on and who to appeal to for Memphis. Then he would also, and then he'd have to bicycle that fucking video footage out quick. Now you're talking snail mail, FedEx, UPS, who then did not get shit overnight. Overnight was not a fucking thing in the 80s. You know what I mean? He'd have to get it quick because that shit had to get to motherfucking Memphis and wherever the fuck else they were on TV. Then he would take a portion of that program, edit it, and custom intro and outro it with him fucking explaining shit. Parts of that for the weekly ESPN television show. Okay? And he did this for the better part of a decade. And then when he finally decided to move on, to this day, 30 some odd years almost later, or 30 years later, let's see, 30 years, he still has his fucking television ministry, dude. Mm-hmm. And when he started that, I'm sure he doesn't do it anymore because he's an older guy. He garnered all that knowledge and got a fucking deal that was better than what he was doing. Mark was held in very high esteem, just like you fucking guys like Dave Brown from Memphis, Gordon Soley. You know what I mean? They had to make themselves useful. What do I bring to the table? And, you know, like I said before, one of the greatest things I think for Mark Lowrance was not having a commanding grasp on what the holds and moves were called, but being able to explain it to you so you fucking understood. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And to be compelling. The influxes. Study the man. What does he do? How does he do it? What, when, where, why? You know what I mean? And to be compelling. You know how hard commentary is on your fucking own.
Yeah.
You know? Well, that motherfucker did it for a long time on one of the first syndicated television programs, and the proof is in the motherfucking pudding. Like I said before, everybody watched their bullshit down there. They had the ESPN deal, and on top of that, they had 2 to 4 shows a year where they sold 50,000 motherfucking tickets. Without Mark Lowrance telling them motherfucking stories, That's fucking 50% of it. Now you also got to remember, Mark Lowrance was watching them. He was taking a modest salary, working his ass off, okay? But he was watching them spend a lot of money and make a lot of money and going, well, fuck it. That's not what I'm in this for. I have a goal. You know, I want to learn. I have to learn. I have to become valuable. And then he took all that shit he learned. If he couldn't get hired by Vince, he didn't need to get hired by Vince because he found something else that he loved, that he got into, which was God and ministry. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah. It's all good info. I mean, it's a good learning experience for me because you've told me to study the guy for a long time, and I know even you have to admit it's partially because he does look like my long lost uncle. But
yeah, but when I say that stuff, like I say it in jest,
yeah.
But it's a compliment, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was down there in 1990, and I can't remember. I know I met Mark when I was down there, and I think he came and went, but I don't think he worked there anymore. I think he was already on his own by the time I got there in 1990. Because in 1990s when they announced that he was going to do his own ministry and his own show on there, on Channel 11, you know? But I thought, fuck, man, what a great example. And that's what I'm talking about at the end of the day. Who the fuck are you until you paid some fucking dues?
Yeah.
You know? Imagine working that hard, just getting enough to fucking get by, keeping faith in yourself, keeping faith in the company that this shit is going to get me somewhere. And it did. You know? Mm-hmm. Just like that guy we know. He was a fan all his life, like every fucking buddy else. And in one way, shape, or form, he learned to beg, borrow, steal to do a fucking year-long internship. But at the end of that internship was a good fucking job.
Yeah.
You know? And that's what you got to do.
Work like a dog now to live like a king later.
Just like the guys. Mm-hmm. You know? Your guys that, I don't want you fucking idiots watch Raw and then you go try to imitate that shit on a motherfucking Saturday night. You ain't going to go anywhere. There's 1,000 guys that can do that shit. There's 1,000 guys that can do anything you can do. The bottom line is, what do you do that makes it yours? What do you do that makes it better?
Yeah. Well, you know? even Triple H has said, what separates the ones who are pretty good from the ones who are great is the ones who are wrestlers and the ones who only play wrestlers.
Yeah. That's pretty good. I didn't know he say that. When did he say that?
I saw that it was something, I don't know, I can't remember if it was on the network or if I saw it on YouTube, but it was an interview with him, and it was a longer version than what I said, but that was basically it. The guys who are only pretty good are the ones who don't really have a strong belief or a strong faith in what they're doing. They're just there kind of, like you said, they were a fan. What, you lose your lighter?
No. Believe it or not, I'm trying to find my TV controller because I want to. You asshole!
The couch had it. Slid between the cushions.
I have to get this year and date down because I want to share this with certain members. Speaking of fucking studying of our roster, because I saw a lot of shit in there that can be stolen, and this is from 1990 motherfucking 2. You know what I mean? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, but no problem. But what Hunter was saying was basically that the ones who are pretty good, they don't really have a strong faith, they don't have a strong belief in what they're doing, and they're really just kind of playing the role, whereas the ones who are great throw everything they have into it.
Well, and let's go ahead and say this right now. And how long are we into this thing?
Just crossed an hour.
Fuck it. So go ahead and use Triple H as our thumbnail. That it is coming from a guy who, a lot of people mistakenly think he's had everything handed to him. And he has not, The proof is in the pudding. I know when he was at the power plant or doing whatever the fuck he was doing at WCW, he was fucking broke. He was paying the dues that he could pay at that time without having a territory to go to, First of all, he was trained by motherfucking, I forget, what's Kowalski's name? We called him Walter. It's Vlad or something or other.
I don't know. I guess...
Wasn't it you that told me that, or Vine?
It might have been Vine.
We called him Walter because I think in Polish it's in English it was translated to Walter. Vlad, I don't know. I just love fucking Killer Kowalski. You know what I mean? A lot of your old timers thought he was... Fuck, dude, fuck that. He's just a charming motherfucker. He's a tough motherfucker. He's a charming motherfucker. You know what I mean? But let's not forget, Triple H was trained by him, and he's not going to just hand you things. He was not going to, with the way he came in and the career that he had and the length of his career, he's not just going to hand you things and you're his favesy. You know what I mean? You're going to fucking work, you're going to hurt, you're going to struggle, and then he went to Atlanta, tried to get a fucking job there and get hired, and he struggled, and he went hungry. I don't know the people that used to let him sleep on the couch and feed him dinner a couple, 3 times a week, and gave him fucking furniture when he was able to afford his first apartment before he went to work for fucking Vince. You know what I mean? So that's some dues paying, you know? In the process, he's obviously a smart guy because he learned how to network. He learned the politics, you know? Before my very eyes, when I was doing a lot of independent work for WWE, I watched him network his way into that company and network his way into whatever the fuck with Shawn. I watched him, Jesse James, BG James, and China and Shawn all form the fucking clique, you know. Shawn gets heat for the clique. Shawn gets heat for, because the actual clique that became a shoot wasn't fucking cool. You know what I mean? To me, that wasn't fucking cool because there's so much damage done before Shawn opened his heart to God. But BG James, China, and Helmsley didn't have no heat from that shit because it wasn't them. People knew the difference, you know. But then he went from there and took the attention that he got from that to parlay it into, you know, getting the office's attention, you know, before he married into the fucking family. And I don't know, there's no way they're going to be together this long if that was a fucking word.
Yeah, no.
If it was just to advance his fucking self. You know what I mean?
I know, you hear it all the time. Well, Triple H is only in his current role because he married the boss's daughter. They didn't get married until 2003. And by then, he was already established. He was already a main event guy.
They've been married longer than... No, wait, I think I was married longer on paper, but we were together 16 years. Anyway, he's a fucking good guy, you know, and here's what I like about him. So, did I ever tell this shit? It doesn't fucking matter. I'm going to tell it again anyway. He was a decent guy, and I was gay for Kowalski. I told you before. I met Walter before I met him. And he said, this is a guy that I fucking trained. And he handpicked me to put him over on TV when he was working. What was the gimmick? It was Hunter
Hurst Helmsley.
But what was it like?
It was basically his
Blue
gimmick.
Blood.
Yeah, he was supposed to be a blue blood from Greenwich, Connecticut.
Yeah.
He looked like. Once I finally saw The Patriot, I kind of drew the comparison. He looked a lot like Jason Isaacs' character in The Patriot.
Which one was Jason Isaacs?
He was the main villain, the red coat that kills Mel Gibson's son. And you know.
Oh yeah, he was in fucking Brotherhood, man. What a great actor. He's a believable asshole.
Yeah.
Boston Mafia.
Yeah, but that Hunter Hurst Helmsley gimmick makes me think of that. But yeah, he was supposed to be a blue blood from Greenwich, Connecticut.
So, long story short, once again, you're paying me $250. My thing is to go there, of course, to get their fucking attention, Justin. But I'm not going to get their attention trying to steal on a fucking green guy. I'm going to get their attention by doing what they asked me to do well. By doing what they asked me to do and what they're paying me to do better than anybody else. And believe me, I got their fucking attention. Somewhere on tape, I don't know where the fuck it is. And I only know this, I saw it once. I only know this because somebody else sent it to me. Somebody who loves me and hates me at the same time, which is a whole weird fucking thing we'll talk about another time. He had an idea for this finish. We never even practiced the motherfucking thing. What does he call his finish?
The pedigree.
Yeah, he goes to do the pedigree. He did it a handful of times. It didn't do shit. The way I took it for the motherfucker got the fucking pop, and it got over with Vince. You know what I mean? He remembered that shit. I appreciated that. You know what I mean? So fast forward however many fucking years, he and I had a mutual friend, and there was a big misunderstanding between himself and this friend, this mutual friend, and I had to say something, and he had all the juice in the company and shit. I took a chance and said, fuck it. I gotta say what I gotta say here for the sake of the friend. And actually, it's a good thing I did, because the friend has been working there shortly after that for a long time now. He's making a fucking living. He's not gonna die broke. But anyway, so I called him out. I took a chance and I called him out in the way I call people out. I'm not an asshole. I'm a respectful motherfucker. I don't care who you are. You know, if you can do something for me or you can't. But I had to say something because I loved this other fucking guy. And I had a feeling that this motherfucker who I'd seen in the halls always made a point to just not say, how are you doing? Stop and say, how you doing? Thanks again. You know what I mean? That kind of shit. Well, the motherfucker stopped in his tracks and we fucking talked. And he got real choked up and he understood what I was saying, you know? He understood that he went off without having all the knowledge. He also understood that in our industry can numb you up and cause you to not think about that other person or put yourself in their shoes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, I felt real good about it. He felt real good about it. We fucking hugged it out after, you know? And it made a change in this other person's life who fucked me over. But we're not going to go into that. My side of the street's clean again. So, you know, this is a motherfucker that paid his dues. Dues that you can't pay. And I won't put up with the bearing. And, you know, the other thing I like about him is sometimes he'll say, I don't have a clue. You know what I mean? Or he'll say things like you said, which are very smart. I just think sometimes he listens to the wrong people. And he's not, like, misled to where, like, he's a tard or he's following a Pied Piper or something. I just don't like Gabe Sapolsky. And I don't think that they fully know Gabe Sapolsky. They know the Richie Cunningham. What's the guy from Leave It to Beaver? The prick? Well, Eddie Haskell. They know Eddie Haskell Sapolsky, not fucking Gabe Sapolsky. You know what I mean? And yeah, I'm jealous because I'm way more deserving of the subsidization, and they would get a lot further with the guys that I train in the way I train them. Sapolsky never trained nobody. You know what I mean? His best years, he can thank the guys that were working for him, and that'd be primarily Punk and Joe, who basically fucking did what they wanted to do and got it over, and he took credit. You know what I mean? So, I do know that when things are happening again for the company, you know, and I've told him in more than one occasion, in more than one instance, yes, I'll be doing this, doing that, doing the other thing. I want you to remember this shit, because when I come, someday I'm going to come to you for subsidization. You know? Mm-hmm. So, you know, I'm glad that he's still got his mind open and he's still a decent guy. And he knows even if this ever got back to him from 6'4" to 3, I don't give a fuck. Gabe Sapolsky, I don't like him. He's an asshole. He's a total asshole. He's not a good person. Never been a good person in however long I've known him. I haven't fucking hung out with him or went to the bar, had a fucking meal with the motherfucker. I just know that he fucking did everything he could to cockblock me. Things that really would have made a lot of money for ROH, and then when he started Evolve, he went and took those fucking ideas and used them there. You know? I don't like that he tried to get a ring for me for dirt cheap because I'm Gabe Sapolsky. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? But I do like Triple H, and I know that, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to speak. You know, before too long, when it counts, when we're ready, we're going to speak about some stuff, and I have no problem getting in bed in one way, shape, or form through him, because I trust him based upon how I know him and how I know how he handled an interpersonal relationship and totally did the 180 and said, I was wrong. I was a fucking asshole. I'm so glad we talked.
Good stuff.
Not many people can do that, Justin.
No, I know. Especially in this industry.
Fuck. You know?
You're hard pressed to find a genuinely good just through and through good human being in this business, unfortunately.
Anywhere, in any industry today, but yeah, especially this business. I know so many people that let that shit go to their fucking head and actually start believing their own gimmick and become a mark for themselves, you know? And he's not one of them, you know?
No, you know what? I've never met the guy in person. What I've seen of him is what I've seen on TV, what I've seen in interviews, but I believe, there's an old saying, you can tell a lot about the man by the way he shakes your hand. But I also believe you can tell a lot about a man by the way he speaks and really listening to not just the words that come out of his mouth, but how he gives those words, what kind of sincerity he puts behind them, and watch the eyes too. They always say the eyes are the windows to the soul. His eyes don't really ever dart around when he's talking in an interview.
Okay.
So
well, I'm sure he's asked a lot of fucked up questions too.
Well, I'm sure, but yeah, but you can't lie through. Even the best liars have a hard time keeping their gaze when they're telling a lie. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to pinpoint any times when he does that in any interview that he conducts. So
I just know I'm gonna say this for finality's sake on the fucking thing, and in regards to him, he fucking listened to what I had to say, thought about the timeline, and he came to tears when he said, "I'm a fucking asshole." I was like, "You're not an asshole. Look at you're fucking working 100 hours a week and you didn't have time to fucking think about it. And you're used to being beat up by backstabbers and cocksuckers." You know what I mean? And the motherfucker hugged it out. But not just that, he fixed it. He fixed it, and that person has been working for the company for the last decade, I'll bet. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because motherfucker could accept that he was wrong, and not just accept it and admit that, but fix it. And I love that.
Yeah. And just watching as a fan and watching what he put himself through just to get noticed and just to climb that ladder. Honestly, I think that even if he hadn't married Stephanie, he'd probably be doing at least close to the same job he's doing today, just because all the hell he went through trying to get to the top.
Weren't they kind of grooming him in that way before they got married?
Oh, he was already, he was already a main eventer before.
But wasn't he kind of like in creative or agent or office or something within the company?
That I don't know.
I know that when you look at the guys that broke in, when he'd been there a long time compared to the rest of them. I think that I'm going to go ahead and say, based upon the way he came in and the relationship he had with people who transition from performer to office, he was always a student of that shit, just like me, and that's what you got to do to be great, Then you can put yourself in other people's shoes in any fucking industry or in life. That's a fucking attribute, no matter what, even for personal gain. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so to close out this segment, just a reminder, and you can apply this to any walk of life. The pretty good ones are the ones who play the role. The great ones are the ones who live the role.
And that's not being a mark for your fucking self.
Exactly.
That's constantly fucking learning, In a way, I thought in 06, I couldn't, it was sad because I couldn't learn from that many people anymore. I could learn from Boogie, but I was never able to hang out with Handsome Jimmy. When I say Boogie, I mean Handsome Jimmy Valiant. I could learn from Luke, and me and Luke talked a lot on the phone, but it's not the same thing as working with a motherfucker, I worked with Dutch in the ring, and I also worked for the Territory on more than one occasion, Memphis, when he had the book. But Dutch would not let anybody get too close to him then, because he didn't want anybody to be considered a favorite and why they were getting a push. He booked them based upon merit, and what they were capable of and talent, you know what I mean? But boy, oh fucking boy, I was really stimulated working with Dutch Mantell and Jim Cornette when I was at TNA. Mm-hmm. My mind is always open to learn, and I enjoy it and learn, and I don't just apply what I've learned to wrestling from some of these people. I apply what I learned to life, my relationships, personal and professional.
And it doesn't matter how much you know, there's always more to learn.
Yeah.
It's when you think you know everything that you fucked up.
So let me just say this in closing so I can get my one-liner in. Life is but a shit sandwich, okay? But if you have more bread, you eat less